Hello, welcome to More Yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are doing well. I always say that, but it's always true. Today we are going to need a dowel. I've unscrewed this broom handle from my broom. Maybe you have an actual wooden dowel or a PVC tube, or even like if you have that kid's desk from IKEA that holds a roll of paper, there's a wooden dowel in there that you could use. I just discovered it the other day. If you don't, you can use your own thumbs to palpate. So we're going to be doing a lot of self-myofascial release, which is a fancy word for just rolling muscles and tissue. We're going to do a little bit in the neck, a little bit in the calves, a little bit in the feet, and just a nice chest opener, and then that'll be a full half hour done. So shall we begin? Yes, let's begin. We're going to roll the neck first and then kind of come to the centering process of the breath and then get into the rest of it. So I'm going to turn around so that you can see what I'm doing. One word of caution though, liability, ethics, that sort of thing, is these are really hard, right? It's nothing like getting a massage from someone else. So please be very careful when you do this at home. I especially don't want to see you rolling right, well, of course I can't see you, but don't roll right on the very back of the neck where those little spinous processes are on the vertebrae, because you could unintentionally chip it or break it off, and that's no good. So always on an angle, right? That being said, let's begin. I'm sitting up on a block. I find it just helps me release through my hips. There we go. Okay. So grab your dowel or your broomstick or whatever it is that you're using today, and then take it on an angle, and then start up on the skull. And you want to roll down just till you find that little lip at the base of the skull. And then there's kind of an indentation right here, and that's just underneath the suboccipital ridge, so where the suboccipital muscles are. And you can get kind of a little bit exploratory here. Sometimes they're really tight, particularly if you haven't been sleeping a lot. And you can even sometimes get feedback into the dowel if you move your eyes here or open and close them. You can feel that into the dowel. So anyway, we're just going to stay here for a couple more breaths, particularly if you're tight or if it feels sore but not painful, if you know what I mean. Pain, so anything sharp, shooting, hot, or electric, don't do this. Back out of it. Discomfort, that's okay. And we are going to slowly start to roll down. So your neck is not pastry, right? You're not going to roll up and down. You're just going to roll down a little bit and pause. Remember, keeping it on an angle so your right hand is further forward than your left hand. And then roll down a little bit more. Anytime you feel something interesting, let's call it, pause there. We are all generally quite tight through our neck, through the shrug muscles. And this is a really fantastic way to start to release that tension. And keep rolling down a little bit at a time. Each time you roll down, pause. You can really get into the muscular and fascial tension. And then the lower down you get, the more oomph you can give it. And you can even start to press down a little bit with the hands, or sometimes I hang my arms on it to get the weight of the arm into there, because you've got lots of muscles, right? You've got the levator scapulae, you've got the upper trapezius, all of these really, really tense, very strong muscles that attach the shoulder girdle to your neck. Last couple breaths on this side. Okay, and then when you're done, you're done. Gently remove the dowel and just pause for a couple breaths. Feel what you feel. Notice whatever you notice from one side to the other. and then we will switch sides. Whenever you're ready, right? You can always pause the video. So grab the dowel, bring it back up to the skull, roll down just till you find the base of that skull where that little lip is, and pause there, getting into those suboccipitals. It might be tighter on one side than the other. That is very, very common. You might have wondered why I said particularly if you haven't been sleeping well. Well, if you've been having sort of intense dreams, your body starts to scrunch up, and sometimes your chin lifts as you're sleeping. And then if there's a lot of rapid eye movement, your suboccipitals are doing a lot of work even when you're asleep. So this really can help release a lot of that tension. It's surprising actually how much tension we hold in these tiny little muscles. Stay here longer if you wish, or slowly start to roll down. A little bit of time. Again, please don't roll the very back of the neck. Keep it on an angle. A little bit at a time. As I said on the first side, the lower down you get, the more oomph you can give it. You can rock a little bit forward and back, or up and down, just to really get into those tight muscles. Last couple breaths. And then gently release the dowel, put it off to the side, and then for a couple breaths, just breathe. Eyes open or closed. Notice whatever you notice. Feel whatever you feel. And then start to focus on your breath a little bit more. Noticing the inhale and the exhale. You might feel the gentle rise and fall of your belly, your chest. And then gently bring your left ear to your shoulder, releasing through the neck muscles on the right side. You might stay here. You might reach the right fingertips to the floor. You could gently add the weight of the left hand to the head without yanking or pulling. Right? We don't want to go too deep after just releasing that fascia. Right? It has a tendency to curl back up, kind of like a spring. And then keeping that lateral flexion, rotate your nose toward your shoulder, or chin toward your shoulder, and then tuck the chin under slightly. So still getting a stretch on the right side of the neck, but more to the back side. And then gently release your chin to your chest. A couple of loops of the shoulders, a couple little head wobbles or half moon circles. And then we'll switch sides. Bring your right ear to your shoulder. Right? Don't lift your shoulder up to your ear. Just let the head release, or the neck release. Maybe you reach the left fingertips away from you, or gently add the weight of the right hand to the head. And then again, maintaining the lateral flexion, rotate your nose toward your shoulder, tuck the chin under slightly. And then gently release your chin to your chest, a couple little shoulder circles or head bobbles, whatever you need. And then shake everything out. All right, unwind those legs, come to hands and knees, cat and cow, little wiggle or shake. Inhale, lift the tailbone. Exhale, round through the spine. A couple more of these undulations on your own time, on your own breath. And then feel free to freestyle or move in any other way that your body feels like it needs to move here. Then slowly come back to center. Tuck your toes behind you and grab your dowel. Now you could be kneeling up on something or double up your mat to protect your knees. Give yourself a little bit more cushioning if you'd like to. And then you're going to bring your dowel as close back to the back of the knees as you can. Now you might just sit back, and that could be really intense. It gets a little bit challenging to have the toes tucked like that. So if you wished, you could be on the tops of the feet instead. I like the toes tucked. And then if this is not, or rather, if this is super duper intense, if you have a block or a pillow or something, you can bring it between your heels and your bum, and that's going to take a lot of the pressure off, right? You're not going to get as much into the hamstrings, but that's fine, right? Alternatively, maybe you want more pressure, so you bring your hands to the dowel and then do this like little rocky side to side. And then we notice how we react to moments of intensity. And we just breathe through it. So a few more breaths here. And then every once in a while, you're going to lift up a little bit, roll the dowel down, and then keep going. So what does this rocking side to side do? Well, it's called cross-hatching, right? So it, in CrossFit, they would call it smashing the fascia. It just loosens the muscle tissue and the fascia in a different way, right? Rather than just going straight up and down, you get the side to side bit as well. And again, everyone, you feel you're ready, you keep rolling the dowel further down the calves. The place that I don't want you to roll though is right on the Achilles tendons at the base of the ankle. I don't want to be responsible for any of you doing damage to that area. Right? There's no padding there. And you don't really want to roll right on tendon. Or sometimes when you get right into the belly of the muscle, it's quite intense. And keep rolling down. Maybe you rock, maybe you don't. We haven't done this in a while. I particularly haven't done this in a while. This is really, really good work to do on your body though. It's like getting a deep tissue massage. So you might feel a little bit floopy, a little bit lightheaded after this. Same way you might after like a really good massage. So just drink lots of water. Last couple breaths. Again, make sure you don't go too far down. I'm going to roll down just once more so that I'm not on my Achilles tendons. Keep going if you'd like to, right? You can always pause the video if you want. Otherwise, join me, untuck the toes, take a little tap out of the feet. And I know this sounds a little bit crazy because the toes were just tucked, but tuck them again. Spread the fingers and hands wide and lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Nice calf stretch. Pedal out the heels. Wag your tail from side to side. A few more breaths here. And then bend your knees, look forward. Take as many steps as you need to come into your standing forward fold. Knees bent. You could rest your elbows on your knees or thighs. Maybe you have blocks or a coffee table. You can bring the floor up to you, even a chair. If you want more traction through the spine, you can clasp opposite elbows with hands. But we got right deep into those calf muscles and into the hamstrings with that rolling. And so this is a nice release. Well, nice. It's kind of a subjective term. This is a release for those muscles. Head heavy, neck long, right? Don't lift the chin. We did all of that release into the neck as well, so you don't want to just start bringing tension right back in there. And then release your hands with fingertips to your shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it all go. Couple more. And then gently bend the knees. Slowly start to roll up to standing. One vertebra at a time. As slow as you need to go. Until eventually you're all the way up. Couple loops of your shoulders up, back, and down. Little wiggle or release. And shake it out. All right, since we have the dowel, let's use it again. Let's get into the feet. So the calf muscles, right, are some of them attached to the Achilles tendon, which then attaches to the sole of the foot, right underneath the heel. So sometimes if your calves are tight, it could be the fascia of the soles of the feet that are actually tight that's causing that tightness through the calves. So let's roll the calves too, or the feet too. We're going to start slowly, 1 foot at a time, and then up at the top. So starting right up at the balls of the feet, you can rock a little bit side to side. The more you bend both knees, the deeper it will get. And then you just roll the foot down a little bit. Depending on how the diameter of your dowel, this might feel more intense, right? If it's higher, there's more looping of the foot over top. Slowly rolling down a little bit more. Again, you could do that little rock side to side to cross hatch the fascia here. Oh. And then try not to avoid the really interesting spots. Right? Those are the spots that need to be rolled more so than the less interesting spots. And then depending on when you get further down, maybe you add more weight, maybe not. If you have plantar fasciitis, this is one of the best things that you can do for your foot. And once you get down to the heel, you can start to do this little like forward and back, getting right into the back of the heel to where it crosses over. Turn the foot in, turn the foot out. And then maybe you do a couple pastry rolls. And then step down and off. Eyes closed for a couple breaths. Again, just notice whatever you notice from one side of the body to the other. Sometimes there's quite a big difference. I'll let you decide what it feels like, and then we'll switch the opposite side. So starting with going to the left foot now. Again, depending on how often you do this or how tight your feet are, you might add more or less weight. So forward or more, or bending the knees a little bit more, and maybe rock side to side. And you might think, Emily, why are you doing a class of just stuff for you? Well, I'm not. Yes, it is stuff that I need to do, but if I need to do it, I can pretty much guarantee that at least 50% of the population out there needs to do this as well. This time of year, maybe your feet aren't as tight, right? You're not wearing sandals, for instance, all day or outside. Maybe you are. But the shoes that we do wear don't have as much movement in them, right? Like Blundstones or whatever, these boots. So it's good to get a bit more movement through the foot, release all that fascia so then the rest of the body, the rest of these chains, it can move properly. And then again, once you get down to the heel, you might not be there yet, but you can really get in to the sides, the very back of the heel. Oh, this is my favorite part. It feels so good. It does not feel as good when I do have plantar fasciitis, but right now it feels delightful. Okay, and then maybe a couple pastry rolls of the foot. And then gently step off. And again, for a couple breaths, just notice whatever you notice from one side to the other. And then flick your eyelids open. Grab your dowel one last time. This time with the hands, you're going to bring it behind you. Either palms facing back or forward. This depends. If you know that one does not feel good for you on your shoulders for whatever reason, if you're injured, then just don't do that variation. I'm going to start with palms facing back. And then little bend in the knees. I want you to wrap your shoulder blades toward each other and then start to ease into a forward fold. But it's less about the hamstrings here. So I'm bent in the knees enough that my lower belly is resting comfortably on my upper thighs. Let the head hang. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other and then inhale. Start to lift the dowel up and away from the low back. Make sure the shoulders aren't dipping right to the floor. Wrap them back. Maybe you start to lift the dowel up to the sky. Maybe it starts to come to the wall in front of you. You could be totally still here, or you could sway a little bit from side to side. You could try a narrower grip or a wider grip. Whatever feels good, or at least more interesting for you. And then slowly bring the dowel back to the low back and then switch the grip. So if you were palms face up, go to palms face down, wrap the shoulder blades toward each other, and then lift the dowel up and away. And again, ease into it. It's a different way of stretching through the shoulders and chest than with the palms facing the opposite direction. Make sure the shoulders aren't dipping. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. Maybe you're still here. Maybe you sway a little bit from side to side. And then slowly bring the dowel back to the low back. And then I want you to allow it to roll down your back. Catch it in your elbows. And then wrap the elbows toward each other. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. Little bend in the knees. Charge your legs. Inhale. Come all the way up to standing. Oh, hello hamstrings. Hello glutes. And then keep wrapping the shoulder blades toward each other. Little lift through the heart. Palms face up. Eyes open or closed. Couple breaths here. Really focus on the ribs, on that movement on the dowel with every breath. And then slowly, gently release. Ditch the dowel off to the side. We don't need it anymore. And then come to the top edge of your mat and release into a nice floppy forward fold. You could sway a little bit. You could shake out the arms. Maybe you do a couple partway lifts. Whatever you need here. And then bend your knees, plant your hands, step back, hands and knees. Let's move through cat and cow again. So inhale into cow, wrap those shoulder blades toward each other. Exhale, round through the spine. Maybe you're getting a bit more movement here than you were earlier. Maybe not. Last couple wiggles. And then shift to your hips on one side. Swing the legs forward. Come to seated. And then before we come down, plant your feet. Plant your hands, fingertips pointing back behind you, and then shift your hips forward a little bit. Make sure you're seated so you're not holding the weight of your body. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. Lift through the heart. Press the index knuckle mounds toward the floor. Really lifting the heart up to the sky. And then gently bend your elbows. Shake it out, and then roll down to the floor. You can always use your hands or forearms to support you. And then hug your knees into your chest, a little rock from side to side. And let's end with a little short twist. Right arm out to the side. Maybe shift your hips right. Exhale, the knees to the left. As gentle or as deep of a twist as you need. And then inhale back to center, reset the spine and pelvis, and then take your twist to the opposite side. Inhale back to center. Anything else you feel like you need before your rest? Some sort of spine flexion or extension. I know some people like going upside down at the end of their yoga practice. Maybe just draw your knees toward you and rock a little bit from side to side, or take a happy baby. Anyway, last couple breaths wherever you need to go. And then start thinking about where you would like to be for your rest. You could be flat on your back, legs bent, or straight in Shavasana. You could rest on your side, or in a seated meditation, or in child's pose, wherever you will be at ease. And then once you've found your pose of rest for a few breaths, inhale through your nose, and exhale, sigh the breath away. A couple more. And let go of all breath control, all muscle gripping or tension, particularly in the face or the jaw. Let go of any last muscle gripping or tension in the body. I just said that. With each exhale, let your body melt a bit deeper into the earth. And stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.